Imagine walking into your restaurant tomorrow and finding an extra $12,000 in your cash register. This sounds just too good to be true. And you're right, well, sort of. This is something most restaurants miss while they're stuck being busy. So today, guys, we're gonna talk about the 3 hidden financial traps that are just bleeding your restaurants dry right now. And I've experienced this firsthand and fixed these exact issues. And the results are just awesome. This isn't about pinching pennies. This is about plugging the holes you didn't even know were there. Think about it. What can you do with an extra $12,000 every single year? We're talking about taking a trip to Rome, going to Alaska on cruises. Man, you can even buy yourself a new Rolex every single year. If you're new here, my name is Nick. I've grown up in restaurants, I've worked on Wall Street alongside restaurant legends, and now I help run my family's restaurant portfolio. On this channel, we dive into real-world strategies to grow your sales and to optimize your restaurant. So, if you'd like to learn how, stick around, because I'm about to show you how to unlock profits you didn't even know you had. Let's dive right in. I want to take you guys back to when this all started, when I truly first understood what was going on with the restaurants and how much money you're leaving on the table. This was a day back in 2018, 2019, I want to say, where I was grilling a steak on my patio and I got this phone call from the sales rep. And of course, who likes when sales reps call them, right? Well, I made the mistake of picking up, but turns out to be one of the best mistakes I ever made. Now this rep, we actually never ended up giving her our business, but what she did is she helped me run the numbers of how much money we could save simply by doing one swap from one vendor to another. And it was just the most mind-blowing thing. Now, I don't know if you're anything like us, we have multi-units of restaurants. So whatever happens in one restaurant, you can amplify it across all of them. And you can truly find how much money you can save simply by being more cognizant. Now, one of the things that blew my mind about this was enough money to buy a new car every single year. And the craziest part was this was just one of the hidden financial traps. The first money killer, it's called the linen landmine. Why is the linen landmine something so bad? Every restaurant we know, you have to have a company that has fresh towels and your aprons. We all know this. But what you don't know is when you sign up with these companies, you're signing up for 5 years minimum. Once those 5 years come up, as long as you tell them you don't want to auto renew, you have the ability to talk with them. However, in those 5 years, you are trapped by hidden commissions. Now, what does that mean? That means every single time the rep for that linen company comes to your restaurant, the more product they drop off, the more money they make and take home. So if you have a manager who just signs for everything, you're gonna be piled up with aprons, you're gonna be piled up with towels. I mean, they have mats, anything you can think of for them to increase their commission, they will drop it off. So we find these things to be the silent profit drain, because when they come in, let's say you were a super busy season and you needed 40 bundles, right? Now, on the slower season, you may only need 25. However, do you think the man who is fully licensed on commission is going to say, you know what? Let's take it back and give them 25. No, he'll keep it at 40 because that's how he makes his money, through pure commission and just volume. So this is something you need to be very cognizant of. When you get those, they're gonna be just overstocking, you'll be hitting it, commission after commission for them, and your prices are just gonna skyrocket. Why is this important? Because if you don't understand what this is, you don't even know you're losing money. You may think your linen cost is $1,000 a month, when it really well could be $400 a month, $500 a month. Let's figure out how can you break this cycle. So how to take control of your linen orders and save thousands. Let me give you a little story for us. So we'll take this man, we'll name him Eddie. I was at one of our restaurants and we were just getting hit over the head over and over and over. And I was seeing these charges and I couldn't understand why they wouldn't be able to listen to us. They knew we had to cut down. And all of a sudden, when I asked this man if I could speak to his boss, the account manager, let's call him Brad, all of a sudden, everything slowed down. As soon as I bypassed my rep and went straight up to his manager, Brad, all of a sudden, the bill started shrinking. And yes, one thing you have to really take away from this, the rep has no instances where they care about what it is you have to say. You almost always have to go to the account manager. So what do you say exactly? The number one thing you always need to do is ask for a meeting with them. That's what you have to do to get them to take you seriously. So the way this works, let's say Brad, you call Brad, You tell Brad all the things that are wrong. You ask Brad, you need to have a meeting with him, and preferably an in-person meeting where you can sit down so they can take you seriously. And if he agrees, that's when you're starting to get this all correctly. So how do you negotiate the deal that's best fit for you? You tell them what your hard cap is. So we got ours at one of our restaurants all the way down to $67 week in and week out. Now this could easily be $150 or $200 a week if no one's watching. Now imagine that every single week for months on end, for years on end, across multiple stores. This is the level of volume that you could be saving if you happen to have multi-unit stores. Now, here's a story that happened to me, when was it? January? Yeah, I think it was over in January in one of our locations. Now, I happened to be there in the morning filling out something for a catering order. And I see these two men come in and I see them leaving and I know they're with the linen company. I'm not gonna say a name, but anyone in the restaurant business will know who this is. I see them looking through everything and I see them just walking right out. So I'm like, you know what, let me look at this bill. I see that he had one of my cooks sign for it, not a manager, one of my cooks, and they got into their truck. So looking at it, I was like, no, this isn't right. So I pulled them all off the truck, both of the men, and I had them point out where in the restaurant, the work that they said they did, where was it? So I was looking through the list and I was pointing out things and they couldn't find anything that they had done. So had I not caught them, they would have just billed us, I think it was like $200, $250 for stuff we didn't even have. But because they're on the bill, it just keeps auto restocking. So guys, the number one takeaway from this is put a cap on the invoice. Tell them you will swap if they exceed this cap. Now this could easily be $100 to $150 a week in savings that you could have. And if you don't, it could just add up. So by taking these steps, you will easily be able to save between $100 to $150 a week, which will equate to around $400 to $600 a month extra that you just simply did not have. Money killer number 2, the chemical cash drain. Very similar to linen, their commissions and overstock will kill you. Why does this happen with chemical companies? Something very simple to understand with chemical companies is that there's very few of them in the market. Now, in economics, when there's fewer companies, there is far more demand than there is supply. So what do? They will exploit their market dominance and they will inflate your costs. Just to give you an example, one of the biggest players, Ecolab, in 2023 had 48,000 employees and they did $15 billion of revenue. Just think about that, $15 billion of revenue. This is an astronomical amount of money. Why is this happening to us? Why are we stuck paying the bill? It's because they can. There are so few of them that for us, we just need to buy it and there really isn't much of a difference you do going from one to the other. So what can you do? Well, very similar to the linen companies, what you're able to do is you're able to actually see it and make sure your managers sign for it. So they are eating into our already thin margins for something we have to do. So one of the things you will see over and over again is the reps, if you're using a repped service, will come into your restaurant and they will push products onto your manager, citing all kinds of statistics, all kinds of fancy jargon to scare them into buying all the different equipment that they don't need, guys. So please make sure you're looking at your invoices every single week and seeing what there is. We have one of our restaurants. I review all these invoices from our chemical supplier because of these issues. Now, I see this bill we have for $150 separate to our normal weekly bill. And I'm looking at this and I'm wondering what in the world is this pipe charge? So the chemical company took it upon themselves to go into our restaurant and just swap out the pipes for our dish machine. And of course, if it's needed and you know about it, it's a great idea. But one of the things you really have to understand is if no one is watching, they will just do it and then they will pocket the money on commissions because they'll say, oh, this needed to be done. And of course, I'm saying it needs to be done, but you need to be aware of it, guys. So you need to understand what's going on. And I spoke to our account manager and told him this. He claimed it was a mix of different restaurants, no problem. But then 2 weeks later, one of our other restaurants got hit with the same thing. So I'm thinking these people just go and go and go. So again, please make sure you put a cap on your invoice. And if it's over, you need to either threaten to swap or actually swap. So if you look at all of this, some extra gallons here and there don't seem like that much, but when you add it up, you're looking at easily $75 to $120 a week, which could come out to $300 to $500 a month extra on top that you didn't have to spend. Money killer number 3, breaking cases of produce. So this is something you do every single week. You order produce, we all do. Now, if you aren't smart about how you're ordering your produce, it could be a huge money sink for you. So let's take limes, for example. We all order limes. If you order by the dozen, they're about 30 cents each. If you order by the case, which in our case is about 200 a case, they are 20 cents each. So you're shaving off almost a third of your costs just by ordering more intelligently. Now, why is this important? Because what they say is if you order by the case, you'll get the best pricing. If you order by the dozen, well, they have to break the case, which is a fancy way of them telling you they're gonna charge you more. Now, in our case, we can go through 200 limes in a week because we have multiple restaurants you can split between. And this is very applicable if you have more than one location. Even if you only have one, depending on how much money you're saving, this could still be applicable for you, but this is heightened for stores that have more than one location. So please guys, this hidden fee where it's eating into your produce budget, you have to make sure you look at it. Now, one of the things I can tell you is talk to your managers about how they are ordering. If you see they're ordering by the dozen and then multiple times a week they have to run to the supermarket, why not make it easier on yourself and your bank account and order by the caseload? And taking a step back here, it's still a lower savings potential, but it's, in my opinion, definitely worth it. I mean, we're looking at $200-300 a month here, which seems like it's a small amount, but honestly, everything's adding up, getting you to at least $1,000 a month. So, to summarize here, linen can cost you anywhere between $400 to $600 a month extra. The chemicals can cost you $300 to $500 a month extra, and breaking cases can take you from $200 to $300 extra. So by tightening up, you can create significant profit increases without having to do a single thing more. Now, after talking so much about protecting your margin, let's figure out how to grow your sales. I have a video up here talking about how to grow your catering sales, and by growing your catering sales at the same time as reducing your costs, that is where the magic happens.